A police helicopter was hovering just a few feet above the ground. Then a small airplane came in from behind. Seconds later, the two aircraft collided. The Cessna broke apart. The helicopter lost major components, rolled over, and slammed onto its side. Inside were two Pennsylvania State Police troopers. Both were injured. Both were trapped. And nearby, the pilot of the small plane was dead. What was supposed to be a routine training flight had turned into a deadly aviation disaster. Now, federal investigators are trying to answer one question. How did two aircraft operating around the same small airport end up on a collision course? The crash happened Wednesday evening, August 19th, at Carlisle Airport in Cumberland County, Pennsylvania. The Pennsylvania State Police helicopter was a Bell 407. It was based in the Harrisburg area and had come to Carlisle for routine training. Two members of the State Police Aviation Section were aboard. Shortly before 7 p.m., the helicopter was hovering only several feet above a grassy area near one of the airport's runways. Nothing about the exercise appeared unusual. Then a Cessna 150 approached. The Cessna is a small, single-engine airplane commonly used for training and recreational flying. According to the initial account from Pennsylvania State Police, the airplane approached from behind the helicopter and lined up with the runway near where the helicopter was operating. That created a critical problem. The helicopter crew was facing away from the approaching airplane. Acting Pennsylvania State Police Commissioner Lieutenant Colonel George Bivens said the troopers would not have been able to see the Cessna coming toward them from behind. Then, at the last moment, something changed. Police say the Cessna suddenly veered sharply to the right. Why? No one knows yet. And that question is now at the center of the investigation. Investigators have not determined that the Cessna pilot made a mistake. They have not announced a mechanical failure. They have not blamed the helicopter crew. And they have not identified any single cause. What they do know is that the airplane moved toward the helicopter. Then came the impact. The Cessna struck the helicopter from the rear. The collision involved the helicopter's rotor system. The result was devastating. The Bell 407 lost its rotor blades and tail boom. It rolled over and crashed onto its side, partially coming to rest on its roof. The Cessna was torn apart. Debris scattered across the grassy area near the runway. Bivens described the collision as extremely violent. The pilot of the Cessna was believed to be the only person aboard. That pilot did not survive. Officials initially withheld the pilot's identity while relatives were being notified. But inside the overturned helicopter, the story was not over. Both state troopers were still alive. Both were injured. And initially, both were trapped. Imagine the situation. The helicopter is on its side. The aircraft has just suffered a catastrophic collision. Parts of the rotor system are gone. The cabin is damaged, and there is no guarantee that the wreckage is safe. After any aircraft crash, there can also be concern about leaking fuel, damaged electrical systems, or fire. The troopers needed to get out. One of them managed to push a window out of the helicopter. He climbed through the opening, but his partner was still inside, so he went back to help. The second trooper was brought through the same opening. Both men escaped the wreckage. Only then could emergency crews take over. They were transported to Penn State Health, Milton S. Hershey Medical Center, and considering the violence of the crash, the medical update was remarkable. Both troopers were stable. Hospital officials said their injuries were minor. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro said both were expected to recover. One routine training flight had now produced two completely different outcomes. Two men inside the helicopter had survived. The person inside the Cessna had not, and investigators still had no final explanation for why the aircraft collided. That is where this case becomes more than simply another plane crash, because investigators now have to reconstruct a sequence that may have lasted only seconds. The helicopter was low. The Cessna was approaching from behind. The helicopter crew apparently could not see it. Then, the airplane made a sudden movement to the right. But what caused that movement? Was the pilot reacting to something? Was the aircraft already committed to landing? Did the pilot know the helicopter was there? Did the helicopter crew know the Cessna was approaching? Were radio calls made? Did anyone hear them? Was there a visibility issue? Was there a mechanical problem? Or did several small factors combine at exactly the wrong moment? Right now, none of those possibilities should be treated as fact. The National Transportation Safety Board will lead the investigation. The Federal Aviation Administration is assisting, and investigators already know they may have something extremely valuable. Video. Pennsylvania State Police said video and photographs from around the airport are available and could help investigators reconstruct the collision. That could make a major difference. A camera may show the final approach of the Cessna. It may reveal exactly when the airplane began turning. It may show the position of the helicopter, and frame by frame, investigators may be able to rebuild the final seconds before impact. They will also examine the wreckage. The damage patterns can help show the angle and sequence of the collision. Investigators can examine the airplane's controls and engine. They can inspect the helicopter's damaged rotor system. They can review aircraft maintenance records. They can look at available flight tracking information. They can interview witnesses. And they can review communications connected to the airport. But none of that happens instantly. That matters because major aviation accidents often produce theories within hours. People look at a photograph. They watch a short video. They hear one witness. And they decide they already know what happened. Professional accident investigations work differently. First, investigators collect evidence. Then they reconstruct the sequence. Only after that do they begin deciding what the evidence actually means. Even one unexpected detail can completely change the story. And there is already an important reminder of that in this case. The FAA and NTSB described the event as a mid-air collision, but state police initially did not clarify exactly how far above the ground the Cessna was at the instant of impact. That may sound like a minor detail. For investigators, as it is not. Precise aircraft position matters. Direction matters. Speed matters. Timing matters. And in a collision that develops in seconds, small differences can become critical. For the two state troopers, however, those questions came later. Their immediate problem was survival. A helicopter they had been using for routine training was suddenly on its side. One trooper forced a way out. Then he helped his partner escape. Both survived. That is one extraordinary part of this story. But it is only one part, because just yards away was the wreckage of the Cessna. Its pilot did not get the same second chance. For that person's family, the investigation is not an aviation puzzle. It is the search for an explanation of why someone they loved never came home. And that is why the final seconds matter so much. A helicopter was hovering near a runway. A small airplane approached from behind. The crews were suddenly separated by almost no distance at all. Then came a turn, an impact, and a violent crash. One person died. 2 others survived. Now, pieces of aircraft, video images, flight information, and witness accounts have to tell investigators what the people inside those aircraft no longer can. The most important question remains unanswered. What happened in those final seconds that put the Cessna and the police helicopter in the same place at the same time? Until the NTSB completes its work, anything beyond the evidence is speculation. But somewhere in that evidence is an answer, and investigators are now trying to find it.